Thousands of steam trains were built in Australia during the golden age of steam, but few captured the imagination of people everywhere like the 38 class. They were a triumph of Australian loco design and construction. 3801 went on to become a legend of steam.
Most people I know think that I'm crazy, and I know at times I act a little hasty, but if that's my way, and you should know it, then in every way help me to show it.
Sydney Terminal Station, June the 28th, 1964. The Sydney Tramway Museum had arranged a special event for Class Leader 3801, an attempt on the 1938 Sydney to Newcastle rail speed record of 2 hours, 10 minutes. Engine 3801, load 240 tonnes and 476 enthusiasts. The timetable, 2 hours, 9 minutes, time to the half minute. O1's first special event was on April the 15th, 1962. It worked the last Melbourne Limited from Junee to Albury. To railwaymen, a fast train is a platform sweeper. Swept clean were Woy Woy, Ourimbah, Tuggerah, Wyong, Wai'i, Burragul. 70 miles an hour for long stretches. A top speed of 80 miles an hour was reached. The New South Wales Special Train Notice ruled, under no circumstances are the special trains to be stopped out of course. hoisted whistles as signals checked near Newcastle. Passengers and crew angrily watched the seconds tick by. However, for engine and crew, a triumph. 2 hours, 1.5 minutes, a record, and it still stands in 1988. Time was lost on the return by confusion in Sydney Yard, and an assured new record of under 2 hours was denied. Casualties, driver Sid Kemp and the pigeon which crashed through his window. Perhaps the most historic journey made by 3801 was the crossing of the continent in 1970. The first loco to run all the way from the east coast of Australia to the west coast. We have the story of that unique journey, which marked the 200th anniversary of the discovery of the east coast of Australia by Captain James Cook. Cook's ship was called the Endeavour, and the train hauled by 3801 was called the Western Endeavour. It was one of the really great train journeys in the history of steam.
Menindee, the Darling River crossing. Never before had a 38 been seen this far west. For the people of the outback settlement, the spectacle was a great attraction. The journey so far had tarnished the engines, so some of the paying passengers went to work cleaning them up. Many of the local children were seeing a steam locomotive for the first time, and it was a memorable experience. Ensuring adequate water and coal supplies on vast stretches of track that hadn't seen a steam engine for many years was a major planning task for the organisers. But for the Western Endeavour, nothing had been left to chance. drama and an event worth recording. The first time a New South Wales locomotive had crossed this border. It was an exhilarating run through glorious countryside and the Avon Valley. For the 139 passengers, it was a satisfying experience. The Western Endeavour was near its goal, the west coast of Australia. Through the suburbs of Perth, 7 days after leaving Sydney, 3801 was steaming into history in grand style. Perth Terminal, thousands of people welcomed the train, its crew and passengers. It was a triumphant arrival, a triumph for steam. There were bands and speeches to welcome 3801 to Perth. But for those who had so many years earlier dreamed of making such a trip, there was a more eloquent, more satisfying sound. The sound of 3801, alive and at rest, after crossing the continent.
Last night's crash between a commuter train and a steam train near Brooklyn, north of Sydney, is 6. 3 women, 2 men and a 14-year-old boy. This morning the tangled trains were parted and to the relief of rescuers, fears other bodies could be in the wreckage were unfounded. 106 people were injured and spent the night in hospitals around the area. New South Wales Transport Minister Bruce Baird has expressed his sympathy to the relatives and friends of those who died and has ordered an inquiry to ensure the tragedy never happens again. This report from Harry Potter on the horrific accident.
The silver commuter service from Newcastle hurtled out of a tunnel near Hawkesbury River Station, experts say at around 30 kilometres an hour. The driver's cabin exploded against the last carriage of the steam locomotive 3801, which was stationary with braking problems. A third of the last carriage was demolished in a deadly shower of tangled metal and splintered wood. The driver of the 5:20 p.m. flyer from Newcastle didn't stand a chance. He was crushed almost on impact, his body brought from the wreck as his wife dashed to the scene. 5 passengers died in the wreck, 6 others survived, but their condition remains critical. Day triple was crowded with 300 jazz fans returning from a festival at Maitland. Dozens were carried out on stretchers, including several with serious spinal injuries.
You can imagine the distress of relatives, hundreds of them waiting at platforms in the city when they learn of the collision. They rush here and try to get past police barricades to learn if their loved ones are alive or dead.
So you had 4 children on that train?
Yeah.
And all of them are...
They're all
RSL and police boys clubs nearby became emergency aid stations after the injured were ferried out. State Coroner Kevin Waller was there to see firsthand yet another New South Wales disaster before he conducts the inquest.
There's quite a number of bodies in there. Of course, very harrowing as usual. It's just staggering.
Another one in the series, Mr. Waller?
But yet another one, this time with the railways. It's something different, but it just seems to be no end to it.
Investigators know both trains were stopped, while the locomotive advised it had braking problems. It's been suggested a passenger on the 3801 pulled an emergency brake handle inside a carriage. The inquest will consider how long the crew had to protect the locomotive's rear and look at why they didn't walk back along the line to lay warning detonators. The commuter service passed through several sets of signals before the crash, and they are being checked to see if the dead driver had the all clear to proceed. The main Northern line should be back in service late today. Harry Potter for 10 News.
Spotters are chuffed at the imminent return of 3801.
After a decade-long restoration, 3801 will return to service this weekend, offering heritage shuttle rides across Sydney.